to make
You have
those.
to carve your own.
Yeah.
Go to Walmart and look for something on a teddy bear.
Yeah.
It's a funny. Taxidermy is so weird, man. I'm sorry.
Welcome to the Wilderness Wavelength Podcast. This is another episode of the Wilderness Wavelength Podcast. Welcome to it. I'm George, and excited episode tonight. We got, lots of guests. Scott Sunderwald back.
Hey, good to be back.
Welcome back, Scott. Jeff, previous guest on the show, too.
Hey, George.
We found out on the last episode you're a birder, or last episode we did together, you're a birder.
Yeah, it happens to us all.
Yeah, so we'll get into that. And Alexis, welcome to the show.
Hi, George.
Alexis from ACL Taxidermy right here in Hinton. We're talking taxidermy on this show. Alexis at ACL Taxidermy and acltaxidermy.ca. How'd you get into it?
About 8 years ago, it was a complete accident.
Wow.
I think that's how most things that are as weird as taxidermy go. Actually, it's kind of a sad story. When I was 19, I got sick with cancer.
Okay.
And then after I was sick for about a year and a half, kind of come out of it and lost all my, passion, and I'm quite passionate. I went to this weird taxidermy school for like a month. I came out of it and I'm like, oh, this is super cool. So I focused all my positive and negative energy into it, and it just kind of flew.
Wow.
And it stuck. Total accident.
Cool.
And now it's been 8 years, and yeah.
Still loving it?
It's a job.
Yeah.
It's a job. I've done everything, and I'm like, it's a job. But sometimes it feels like it's still such a passion.
Yeah.
Just sometimes it's kind of hard to find that passion when you fall behind, and
Yeah.
you have people lined up at the door and stuff, but I'm kind of finding a balance. So,
Cool.
yeah.
Scott, you've got a few things taxidermied in your time.
Yeah, I was reflecting on. I was a taxidermist wannabe as a kid, so I'm a little bit jealous at what you know how to do, and I dabbled without knowing at all what I was doing. So, do a lot of hunting. Used to do some trapping, bushcraft, of course. So I skinned a lot of things. But when I was a kid, I would stuff mice and rabbits and squirrels. And my claim to fame, I tried to stuff an owl, and I was like junior high school. No clue what I was doing. This owl was found dead in the forest, and took it home and skinned it out, and they're fragile skin, which I'm sure you know.
Yep.
And then I was like, well, what do you do with the skull and the beak? So I peeled the head back, cleaned the skull, put it back in, glued it, stuffed the owl, sewed it up, and I was actually pretty happy. And I was like, the only thing missing here is some good eyes.
Yeah.
And I was like, where in the Black Forest of Germany do you get owl eyes? So you can't order them. This was way before the internet. So I thought, my sister's teddy bears. So I went through the teddy bear collection and found 2 perfect eyes, put them in my owl, and then I just felt so guilty because my sister's teddy bear had no eyes. So she, do you remember these hair baubles for ponytails?
Yes.
So I found her hair baubles, and I drew in some pupils in there with a Sharpie and glued them in her teddy bear, hid them in the back of her room, hoping she would never know. But it took her about a day, and she came screaming into my room, and I don't think I'm ever fully forgiven for that. So yeah, that was a start to my taxidermy stuff. But I've tried different things. I tried taxidermy or tanning a bear hide last year.
Yep.
Myself, and I've done raccoons and other little things with that orange liquid tan. So
The trapper's tan.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah. But the bear started slipping. I worked on it 15 hours.
Oh, no.
Scraped it, salted it, and then I was soaking it in Dawn in the bathtub,
Yeah.
and then it all started slipping. So maybe you've got some pointers how to make sure that doesn't happen.
Yeah, that little orange bottle of trapper's tan, that's okay for like weasels and martins and anything kind of low fat to the skin. But once you get into a bear, which has the most fat,
Right.
out of, especially if it's a fall bear, I actually use synthetic tans and acid pickles and everything. I just finished one up actually yesterday, a big 6-foot bear.
Yeah.
And it's a very long process with a lot of wastewater. Degreasing 3 times, and then it goes into an acid pickle, which stops bacterial growth. It also takes natural oils and proteins out of the skin and leaves it like a sponge.
Okay.
And then once that hide is like a sponge and missing all those elements, then you tan it. And you put the synthetic tan to make up for all the stuff that pickle take out.
Right.
And then it's a processed hide. So it's very scientific,
Yeah.
I've learned.
Yeah.
Through trial and error.
No kidding. Yeah. After all that work to have the
That's
hair
horrible.
start slipping on me, I was devastated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. When you're doing like trial and error with like this kind of stuff, like learning, how are people dropping off stuff? It's like, hey, try it with this one, or
No, so in the school that I went to, we did a coyote, we did 2 deer, we did a pheasant
Oh,
from
cool.
a pheasant farm outside of Calgary.
Yeah.
And that was 8 years ago, and my sister still has that ugly ugly bird. I'm like, get rid of that ugly bird. She's like, no, I like them. And we did a tilapia from the Chinese food store.
Oh wow, fish are hard, hey?
Fish are terrible. I like them. I tell my fish customers I do taxidermy and I do fish on the side because it's a totally different world. It's like it's.
Well, don't a lot of people just basically paint them now? Like you get a mold and you
Yeah.
say I had a 4-pound brook trout, and they're like, okay, here's a 4-pound mold, and we'll paint it up for you. Or
Yeah, I do about 50% replicas, and
Yeah.
then I also do like a skin replica hybrid.
okay.
So I cast the skull, cast the cast the head, cast the fins, and I use a skin.
so you got a bit of your actual fish in there still, yeah.
Yeah. But if you look on the old fish mounts, what's
Yeah.
broken is the head will leak grease through the paint, or the
Okay.
fins break.
Right.
That replaces it all.
Huh.
Yeah.
So if I catch a fish and I want it taxidermied, what do you can you still get the meat off the fish, or are they bringing you a whole fish?
When they bring them in for skin mounts, it's the full fish, and after what I do with that, you don't want to eat that.
Don't cook
is
that
what I
up.
tell
Yeah.
people. When they bring great big rainbows and stuff, you're not going to eat that after that. So, but for replicas, people just take as many measurements as you can. If you get a brook trout with a big humpback on it or something, I need measurements and pictures and everything, and I can make a blank.
The stress of taxidermy must be incredible. Like I was devastated because I wrecked my bear,
Yeah.
but I can't imagine somebody giving me a lifetime bear, and then wrecking it for them. Like I don't, because it's not something you can replace, right?
No, it's not.
Yeah, that must be pretty stressful at times, right?
The most stressful thing is sheep.
Okay.
Sheep. Yeah, they're irreplaceable.
Yeah.
Skins, a bighorn. I just did a stone sheep the other day. Yeah, those I have to clear my week.
Yeah.
Because you can't buy a cape like
No.
you do with the whitetail, right?
No, whitetails are really replaceable. People bring me a whitetail cape in 6 different pieces, and I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
I can't put this back together.
Let's put this together.
And they're really replaceable. But sheep, no, man.
I bet, yeah.
And once they come off the mountain and they've been just through hell and back,
Yeah.
Right.
without slippage is it's hard.
Yeah,
With
yeah.
sheep. And they're very fragile. If you have an old sheep mount and you brush it, the hair will break because they're so fragile, not like deer.
Okay.
What's the trick with keeping like the mounts in good shape then? Like my dad's got some sheep and he's got like a mountain goat that's kind of getting dirty. Like how do you take care of something like that?
So what I say to my clients when they take their stuff home is dust them once a year,
Okay.
because the dust gets sticky like on a ceiling fan.
Yeah.
And then it's harder to get off. But keep them out of the sun.
Yeah.
The sun will, bleach the hair. If you have a
Right.
really old mount that's been in the sun, it'll be like light tan rather than the deep brown
Yeah.
of a deer. So
Most common whitetail deer then? Is that what people are bringing in mostly, or?
what's funny? Through the years, I have muley years
Yeah.
and I have whitetail years.
I need a
It's-
muley ear here this year.
A muley year. It's one year I had
Got to shoot one first.
80% muleys and just a couple whitetails, and then the normal years is whitetails. But yeah, I remember that one year. It's just packed with big muleys.
Yeah.
And
Kinda
they were from
jealous.
here, because we don't have a ton here. But
We don't, but
Yeah.
maybe everyone pulled their
Everyone
draws
got
at the
their
same
draw.
time,
Yeah.
and then that 440 zone.
Yep.
Just general. Maybe it was just a good year up there. I don't know. Who
Do you
knows?
ever have, like, I imagine over 8 years, ever someone bring an animal where you're like, I don't know if this is legal? Like, how do you deal with that?
I have. Yeah. So being a taxidermist, you have to be permitted and have licenses. And then Fish and Wildlife review your books every month, especially in hunting season. And I have had Fish and Wildlife come to my shop and look for something that they think was poached.
Oh yeah.
They take a bunch of pictures. And if I have anything that I question, I do bring it up with Fish and Wildlife. Because if anyone's going to know, if an owl has a 22 shot in it, it's going to be me when I take it apart, right? It sucks. It really does. But it's just another step in clearing the poachers,
Yeah, I know when I've taken deer to a butcher a few times, and they take a lot of. They take the tag still has to be attached. They take all the information. They wouldn't even let and then when my parents went to go pick up the meat, you have to have a bill of lading and all that stuff.
Oh yeah.
So that's just for a whitetail, which.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you got a favorite animal to do?
Like a great big, great gray owl.
Okay.
I love those.
Cool.
I love them. Owls are really forgiving. Yesterday I was working on an owl that was hit by a truck and it came in 6 pieces. All the wings were attached. The tail was detached.
Wow.
The head was completely split. And I got it together into one piece. It looks really good. Cool. Owls are really forgiving. Hawks not so much because they're not fluffy.
Yeah.
Did you use teddy bear eyes?
I have a story about that for you, actually. And it's not far off. It was a few years ago. Pine martens, all they have is little black eyes.
Yeah.
And they're called a bubble eye in taxidermy, and it's just a little glass bulb. Well, of course, I broke one. And I was kind of in a rush to get the job done. And I did go to Walmart, buy a teddy bear, and use a black eye from teddy bear.
I'm not the
gonna
only
say,
one.
Whose job that was, but it looked really good by the end of it. But it was I remember that.
Hilarious.
Then you return the teddy bear the next day. Like, this teddy bear only had one eye.
What's going on here?
Right. Yeah.
I remember that.
So what's the timeline on an owl? How long does it take to do an owl then?
My birds run about 6-8 months because, it doesn't take that long to do it, but I have such a list of people.
Yeah.
I have 3 freezers full
Okay, yeah.
of stuff all the time. And I'm just kind of working through it. It's a one-man show. My husband, he tried.
Yeah.
Didn't like it. And that's okay because I'm hard to work with. I'm very particular.
Yeah.
And then any game, deer, life size is about a year.
Yeah, life size. Yeah, I saw
Life
on
size,
your
yeah.
Instagram. You can check out Alexis' Instagram, ACL Taxidermy on Instagram, but some really cool life-sized mounts. Do you have a favorite life-size mount that you've done?
I did a bighorn sheep.
Yeah.
Life size, and I'm not gonna lie, that was the first sheep I ever did that came in the shop, and he wanted a life size, and I'm like, well, I'm gonna give my best shot. I know I can do it.
Yeah.
Stressful. Wow.
And a sheep.
Yeah.
It was very stressful, and it turned out really, really good.
So do you get a full mold for the full body, or are you having to sort of doctor that up as you go?
So you order through the Taxidermy Supply Center the mold in the best size range for the animal, and then you make modifications.
Okay.
With sheep, they come with quite a bit of modifications.
Yeah.
And then with sheep, my animals don't have, a bear has balls, right? But sheep, all they are balls and words, right?
Very
you
large.
actually have to carve those and put them in the mount and stuff. It's such a weird part of it. Any other animal doesn't, but sheep, that's all you see sometimes.
So that doesn't come with the mold.
You have to make those.
You have to carve your own. Yeah. Go to Walmart and look for something on a teddy bear.
Yeah.
It's a funny. Taxidermy is so weird, man. I'm sorry. But if you ever see a life-size sheep mount, that's what you're gonna notice first.
Well, I've seen life-size sheep, especially in the rut.
Yeah.
It's hilarious. Yeah, but life-size sheep are really cool to do. They're so special.
Yeah.
And the sheep I actually did took a 70-foot drop right onto his face, and I had to fix.
Oh no!
He was split right up to his.
Did it
past
smash
his
his
nose.
horns and no?
No, I think both horns were intact, but the face, he took a nosedive, and I fixed it really well. I think he couldn't even tell.
Yeah.
It was super cool.
Jeff, as a birder, do you have a bird you'd love to get taxidermied or have in your house on display?
A rough grouse. And that has nothing to do with me being a birder. That's just my love of the rough grouse.
But on your website, it says you're only doing predatory birds. Is that
That's just what I have time for, and that's what I
Okay.
like best right now is the owls and the eagles
Yeah.
and hawks. I don't like hawks so much, but
A majestic rough grouse make the cut?
I don't know if you know the rough
Maybe.
Trophy
the rough
grouse.
grouse could be considered a predatory bird.
Right,
They're
yeah.
pretty vicious.
They are. Maybe a cinnamon rough grouse. Do you know about the? Have you ever had a cinnamon rough grouse?
No, what's that?
They're actually cinnamon. You know how their rough's normally black?
Yeah.
Every once in a while they get a genetic modification that turns them cinnamon red.
I
I've had one and I did mount it.
Oh, cool.
I
Super
probably just
pretty.
ate it and didn't even notice.
Yeah.
Do you get much for blue grouse? Because I've been here for 20 years, and this is where I disagree with the regs. You're allowed to shoot. It was 5 a day, and I'm like, I've seen 5 in 20 years, and I get out a lot.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd be shocked if people are bringing them in.
I've never had a blue grouse come in.
Yeah, they're quite large, right?
I have one coming in from, up by GP area this week. And I'm excited because I've never even seen one.
A blue grouse.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know where it was harvested.
They
'cause
tend to be
they've moved around a bit. But
Yeah, here they tend to be higher elevation. Like
Yeah.
you get into sort of that subalpine and you'll see them. Generally, you'll think it's a giant spruce grouse until you get close, and then yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty
Yeah,
excited to see it.
I've never seen one. I've been hunting grouse with George for probably coming on 10 years. I've never seen one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen sharp tails. There's a couple years where you'll see the odd sharp tail.
Yeah.
But you can't hunt those, but yeah.
I've been seeing lots of sharp tail, and I know you can't hunt them. So the irony is you can hunt blue grouse, which I never see. And I bump into a lot of sharp tails in the cut blocks because they're more like a prairie chicken. They like that big open space. So if you're ever trying to flush deer in a cut block, like with the tall willows, and you get like 20 sharp tails go up, but you can't shoot them.
Yeah. Do you have an animal that you want to is on your bucket list to do?
I don't know, man. I've done so many cool things. I've even done lots of African stuff, and
I was
going
gonna
to
say that's got to
hate
be something
African
people
stuff.
Oh,
bring in.
really?
Yeah,
That'd be
I don't
tricky.
like it. It's hard. They're like aliens to me.
Yeah.
Weird animals, man. But their hides are a lot different than
Yeah.
by the time they process and come through the border and stuff, they're kind of can be hard to work with.
Yeah.
And they don't have a lot of hair,
Hmm.
so they're tough. I don't bring in African stuff anymore. I've done a little bit of New Zealand stuff, which was kind of cool, but yeah.
This might be
I would love to do a blue wolf, a life size. I've done blue wolf rugs.
Okay. Yeah.
But I try to talk them into a life size, but they don't. But that would be so cool.
That would be.
I've done lots of wolves, black, gray, that kind of brown wolf.
What's
But,
a blue wolf?
So, how would you just describe the genetics of a blue wolf? So they're like a silver, ashy, blue tone.
Okay.
Like
And they're beautiful.
Yeah.
They're the same as any other wolf. It's just their color.
Okay. Yeah.
And whenever I see blue wolves come in, because I skin a lot of wolves for trappers,
Yeah.
they're always big, mature wolves. I don't know if maybe their color tone changes as they age,
Interesting.
and they're always just gorgeous.
Wow. Blue wolf. Cool. I can check that out.
They're just,
Because you're you're a licensed fur dealer too.
yeah.
Is that like a big part of your business then?
It is. A lot of people like to have lynx in their house. They don't hunt. They're gorgeous. It's
Yeah.
always lynx.
Yeah.
So the licensed fur dealing lets me buy a raw skin from a trapper, process it to something permanently preserved. And then
Cool.
anyone can buy it.
Yeah.
They put that law in when people sell their fur coats. It's a fur coat.
Yeah.
You're not going to have 20 tags of the ant, because it takes 20 martins to make a fur coat. You're not going to carry that coat with 20
Gotcha.
tags, right,
Yeah.
to sell it. So they put that law in to make that stuff. So once the hide is permanently preserved, you can sell it.
Cool.
And that gives me that
Okay.
ability to sell a lynx to someone that doesn't hunt or anything.
So I have a jacket that has one of those fake fur rings.
Yeah.
I was always want a coyote to replace, because it comes off to replace it with a real coyote one.
Yeah.
So that the fur dealer could sell a coyote to do that.
Yeah.
Right.
Coyote trim for your coat.
Coyote
Yeah.
trim? Yeah, that'd be.
That'd be cool.
Canada Goose used to do that.
Oh,
Used
yeah.
to have the coyote trim, and I think it just got too much demand. Yeah, which is interesting. Speaking of demand, I was hearing, the show Yellowstone.
Yeah.
So many people are now cowboy wannabes are buying these cowboy hats,
Yeah.
and it's driven the price of beaver
Are you kidding?
because
Wow.
of beaver felt, because people are just buying the stink out of it. And most of them, if you'd ask them, are you against trapping? They'd say yes. They have no clue that they're buying beaver
Unreal.
fur, beaver felt in their cowboy hats. So it's amazing how these trends can completely change the industry, right?
That's crazy.
I remember hearing once that the richest person in America was a beaver trapper. Like built their riches off beavers, like in the Wild West days. I don't know if that's true or not, but it's a fun story.
The richest person in like the 1800s or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I can believe it.
Before the railroad or anything like that.
Yeah.
Like
The beaver
mountain man
trapper.
days.
It was a
Yeah.
big thing. Everybody needed a beaver hat back in the old country, right? That was the thing.
Yeah.
Well, it's like the black bear hats and the guards in England. Mm-hmm. But apparently they have enough black bear pelts for like the next 100 years or something worth of hats.
Is that right?
Oh,
I've heard
that's
some.
interesting.
That's a weird one.
Don't take that number
Don't
to the
write that
bank,
down.
but it's a lot. It's a lot of years.
Yeah. We got a podcast question of the week too. I was going to get into. We posted this on our social medias last week there. But what is your favorite animal to take a picture of? So we had some messages sent in here. Cameron said Sasquatch. He was like our Sasquatch guy, so he's still searching. Any Sasquatch hides coming into?
Yeah.
No,
Texas?
no.
How many of those have you done?
No.
None of those.
I haven't seen any of those.
Okay. Bruce said moose. That's a good one. Josh, he is a photographer, and he said sheep, bighorn sheep, always fun to capture. Also, love grizzlies when I get the chance. And Tara wrote in and said, I like to photograph bears, but I work hard not to run into bears, so I photograph a lot of bear tracks instead. We were out today. It was just grizzly tracks around today.
Yeah.
They're still moving.
The males stay out the longest. Yep. Females with cubs are usually the first to go into hibernation. And if you were looking after little ones, you probably would too, right? But yeah, the males, I've seen males out till January.
Wow.
Male
Okay.
grizz. So
Yeah.
keep that in mind, because I'll be hot tenting here soon, frying bacon in my tent and
Yeah.
wondering if something's out there,
Grizzly
you
bear
know.
looking for breakfast.
I've seen some grizzly bear tracks too out hunting this morning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You seeing any black bear tracks? Because they tend to go a little bit before the grizz.
Yeah.
But still have that black bear tag, so you never know.
Oh,
Yeah. Alexis, what are you hunting for?
just a whitetail.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got mine last weekend.
Oh, very nice.
Pressure's off now. So that
Oh,
was
the
good.
pressure.
Yeah. I was like, I got drawn for elk. I got drawn just south of here and drawn for muley buck north of here. And I haven't come across anything yet. And I'm down to 2 days left. So that's Jeff's out here. We're going to try something the next couple days. I
Yeah.
don't know. There's elk around, but they're in town limits. And it's like,
Yep.
it's tough to get that in the back of the truck. And yeah.
Yeah. Got to chase them out of town limits,
Yeah.
lasso them.
Yeah.
So are you looking for a trophy then, being a taxidermist? Are you meat hunting, or what?
Well,
What's the goal?
my husband is, he shoots an elk first couple days in bow season every year. So the freezer's full. I'd like a big whitetail.
Yeah.
It's been, around that 6-7 years since I've shot a really big whitetail, and I would like to.
Yeah.
But that's everybody, right? Everyone
Sure.
wants a big
Yeah.
whitetail. Especially seeing all these big deer come through the shop. It really
yeah.
makes you picky
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
because you see what's out there.
You've seen some nice stuff.
Oh, yeah, man. I've had whitetail that I fit inside the antlers. It was just huge.
Wow.
It was the biggest one I've ever
Yeah.
seen. I'm just like, I fit in this thing. Oh, it's
Yeah.
huge.
Jeff, you got a favorite animal to photograph?
Well, I think I answered the reply. If you look at my camera roll, it's probably my cats or dog. But
Oh, yeah.
yeah, I don't know if I have a favorite animal. I like looking at animals a lot. Like
Yeah.
mountain goats are incredible.
Yeah.
Um,
There's some out here. I haven't tracked
Yeah.
those ones down yet, but there's some in this neck of the woods.
yeah, we went up. I saw some mountain goats up by past Lake Louise. What's in Yoho?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, some up there. But
How about you, Alexis? You got a favorite animal to photograph?
Oh, owls.
Yeah.
I love owls.
Yeah.
They're so cool.
George and I saw a gray owl.
Yeah, big
up
one
in
there.
September. We were driving a back road, and there was a big ditch and a tree over the big ditch, and it was sitting on there, so it was like eye level with us.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool.
Everybody drove up and stopped it, like looked at us, and yeah, they're huge.
They're huge.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But it's interesting fun fact about owls, especially with the great grays. When you have that big feather plate around their eyes on their face, their skull is actually only as big as their eyes.
It's tiny.
It's tiny. Yeah. And then they have this big disc of feathers. It's so cool once you get into an owl. You would know.
Yeah.
Scott. Yeah, it's only the...
And from what I understand, that big face helps to focus in the sound of mice. Like it's almost like a... what's that dish? Satellite dish.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
And their ears are right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so cool.
Did you ever, when you were kids, dissect owl pellets?
Yes. Yeah.
That was one of my like core memories. You get an owl pellet and you'd have a piece of paper and the Elmer's glue and you'd try to put together the rat or the mouse or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do remember that in school.
Little shrew teeth and that
Yeah.
sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Scott, you got a favorite animal to photograph?
Well, I also had the mountain goat. I mean, grizzly is right up there too. But mountain goats, they're so high alpine that there's only certain times a year I typically see them. They come down for salt licks, often with their little kids, the little babies.
Yeah.
And that's always special when you see them. You know, we see a lot of bighorn sheep here all the time, but the mountain goats are pretty special when you see them. They're just so big and shaggy, and yeah, it's quite something. They're a really interesting critter.
Yeah. Cool. Thanks everyone that sent in messages for that one. And you can always get a hold of us at wildernesswave@outlook.com. Speaking of that, we have a couple Ask Scott questions too we should get into. Let's do that now. This one from Keith for Scott. What's your favorite winter sport? We never brought this up on the podcast before, I don't think.
Yeah, sport. How do you define sport, right? So if it's active, probably skiing, either downhill, cross country, but fishing's a sport. So let's go ice fishing. I also like winter camping. Is that a sport? You're dragging a sled, snowshoeing, hot tenting. So those would be kind of my top.
Okay.
Are you a hard water fisher or more than a summer fisher?
I do both.
Scott was out fishing like 2 weeks ago in like 2 inches of ice.
With a life jacket on. Don't try it.
Listen to the last episode of the podcast too. It's all ice fishing tips. We actually got a message about that. Some guy was angry because he thought we gave away too many locations or whatever. But
I think all we said was Maxwell Lake. Man.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know. Like I mentioned a couple lakes, but I don't think they were real secrets anyways. So he's like, I don't know. I like the tips, but I don't want to like give away the spots and everything. Like,
yeah, okay. I get some hate when I'm posting stuff on Instagram. It's like, you're giving away the secrets. I said, I called it Maxwell Lake.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure the people from Sweden don't know where that is, right?
Yeah, I also think the more people that are fishing, the more like conservation dollars and like awareness, and if you keep everything a secret, then it's and like lake's a big thing. Where do you drill that hole? You didn't tell them where to drill the hole.
True.
We did tell them where to drill the hole. Actually, that was like part of one of the tips.
In general terms.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another one came in. This one from Crystal. Hey Scott, hey guys, question for Ask Scott. If you were to run a tour company, what would you specialize in?
Well, in a former life, I used to teach bushcraft and wilderness survival skills, and I love that.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, retirement's not too far away. I think it's like 5 years away. I think I'd go back to doing some of that, like foraging, edible medicinal plants, mushrooms. You could do a whole day on making bows and arrows from the bush. It would be really fun to team up with a helicopter tour company and take groups out on top of mountains and do some bushcraft in the mountains.
I like that idea.
Yeah.
I'd be into that. Yep.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Alexis, you mentioned you're a hunter. Are you a fisher too?
More than I hunt, yes.
Yeah.
I have fish tattooed all the way up
Fish
to my neck.
tattoos,
It's ridiculous. It's a healthy obsession of mine.
Ice fishing?
Ice fishing, fly fishing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
Okay.
Are you from this area then? You grew up here? Or?
I am born and raised, yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
Awesome.
and I'm never going to leave.
Yeah.
I love it here.
It's a great place.
Can't find
Yeah.
anywhere better than here.
When you fly fish, do you release the fish mostly, or do you keep them mostly?
I have released. Well, we go to Moline. You got to keep 2 on the first day to eat
Yeah,
them. They're
yeah.
so good.
Yeah.
They're just
There's
you
some
don't get
huge
anything better
ones
than
there,
that.
yeah.
But other than that, it's mainly release. Except I got a 7-pound rainbow once out on my double man, like my single man pontoon with the big buoys on each side.
Wow.
Cool.
I got a 7-pound rainbow all
That's
by
a
myself.
Good rainbow.
Yeah.
Oh, it was the best. That I've had 2 kids. I've gotten married, but that was best.
That beats it all.
I was
yeah.
all by myself out on this horrible lake. It was bad weather. I get this fish in. And
What lake was that again?
Rat Lake. Rat Lake, just down lake that way.
Yeah, that one.
I get to shore and I'm shaking. It's cold. I'm in a rain suit. It was a horrible day. And I'm just shaking, and there's these people on the shore unloading their boat, and I'm like, please take my picture. Please take my picture.
Wow.
And I'm like, look at this fish. And they couldn't believe it, because it wasn't a lake that you would catch a fish like that. And that was a good day. I have
Cool.
goosebumps thinking about that.
You
And
caught it on a fly, or?
Oh yeah, on a like a 16 chronomid.
Oh,
that I
and it
made.
didn't straighten your hook.
Oh, it was
yeah.
amazing. It was amazing on this pontoon. I thought I was gonna get stuck
Nice.
in the weeds. It was awesome. It
Wow.
was the best.
That's a big rainbow.
It
Did
was
you
awesome.
did you taxidermy it, or you ate it?
No,
Smoked it?
no, you don't eat that. I was gonna taxidermy it for myself, but it's still in my freezer because it's where all my other things are
Oh.
that I have to put in my house one day. Same as my husband's stuff. He shot a black wolf. It's still in the freezer. That poor guy.
Yeah.
He better take it to a different taxidermist. He'll never get it back.
He's on the bottom of the list.
Yeah. Poor guy.
When you're, I kind of read some of this on your website there, but when you're taxidermying something, like you're doing a bunch of research on this animal too, like.
Oh yeah. Like eye movement. Eye movement's a big one. Because
Okay.
you can't even, a deer with a sharp turn looking this way.
Yeah.
Like it's hilarious once you get into it. And then like cat eyes, I really, when I started getting into doing lynx and cougars, I really researched how cat eyes all move the same, but how they angle and stuff, that slanted pupil. And that really brings a cat mount to life.
Huh.
But I'll read for hours and days and just,
Yeah. Cool.
learning about that stuff.
The one thing I was looking up too is like, so taxidermy is like, animals, but it's also like dinosaurs would be like a taxidermy thing. Is that something that would interest you at all?
It's interesting. There's a world-renowned taxidermist that just lives in Seba Beach,
Yeah.
or Alberta Beach, whatever. But he's actually done, an Irish elk, extinct
Oh yeah.
giant.
Yeah.
He's done a replica of one of those and stuff, and it's actually really, really
Like
cool.
12-foot antler
Yeah,
spread,
it's
just
ridiculous.
gigantic.
It was the biggest ungulate that walked
That's
the
right.
planet in,
Yeah.
in the entire existence.
It was.
Wow.
Yeah.
He had a replica antler of some fossil, and I got to see it. It was so
crazy.
cool.
Cool.
I was
Yeah.
going to ask you, talking of strange things, people are asking to get pets taxidermied.
Oh,
Have you been asked to do that?
I have been asked more times than you would believe.
Really?
Yeah, and I feel so sorry because
Yeah.
I think the best thing on the planet is my dog. He spends every hour with me of every day, and these people are so passionate about their pets.
Yeah.
They've had a cat for 13 years.
Yeah.
But I can't bring that back to life that they want to see, right?
Yeah.
I can't make this little white tabby cat look alive
Yeah,
again for you. It'll never feel the same for them. Plus, like, I've done one cat skull in my life to try it. Never did it again.
Well,
Yeah.
you probably can't get the molds, right? You can't get the mold for
No.
Labrador Retriever. Well, maybe you can.
No,
Who knows?
no.
Look on Amazon. But I don't know. Just for me, I mean, I had 2 dogs. We have a cat. I just can't imagine staring at my stuffed dog. I think I'd feel sick in the stomach. Not to knock anybody who really
Yeah.
wants this, but I just can't picture that would bring me any sense of
No.
I don't know, satisfaction.
There is this company. I think it's called Cuddle Buddies.
Oh, boy.
And I can show you. I got one in the house. You can just take a picture of your animal, and they'll make like a teddy bear of it, and it works pretty good. It looks like you saw the one I made of Tyler.
Yeah,
like
but it's a
cartoon almost.
It's
version
a cartoon, but like you said with the taxidermy, you've lived with this animal for 10 to 20 years. Its intricacies, how it sits and how it looks, and you can't replicate that.
No.
Yeah.
When you shoot a deer or a elk or whatever, you've seen it for an hour.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's gonna look
Yeah.
you don't have an intimate relationship with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the same way.
It's not a family member. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I've always said my family thinks it's hilarious. I always say no grandparents, no pets.
Yeah.
It's just a comical joke in my family.
Yeah.
I was gonna say this earlier, but I know you guys live pretty close to the pulp mill. I'm sure someone's lost a finger. Do you think would you taxidermy somebody's finger?
No, but I know a taxidermist that has done a whole arm.
Wow.
I'm not gonna lie. This man had his arm amputated, and for a medical reason, and he had it like beetled and cleaned and put on display in his house.
Yeah.
Like, kind of cool.
Just the bones.
Just the bones.
Okay,
But like all the
yeah.
fingers, it's super interesting.
Yeah.
That's
Not for me.
There you go. There's a stir stick for a drink. Eh?
Yeah.
Pull that thing out. What about you talked? What was Cuddle Buddies?
Cuddle buddies. Yeah.
Yeah, remind me of this trend of soft taxidermy, where people are getting like coyotes and raccoons done, more like a cushion, and you can throw them on the couch. Have you done any of that? Or?
No. So there's
never heard of that.
taxidermists like
Yeah.
me, which are like commercial, and then there's like more the oddity taxidermy, and it's both art, very different aspects of art, but they take these animals like a coyote, like you said, and they wire it so all the limbs move and stuff. It's interesting, but it's two very different worlds when you come into oddity taxidermy and actually commercial taxidermy.
Yeah, it's bizarre.
Yeah.
I've never.
Cuddle up to your coyote in the evening
No.
by the fire.
I think they're very like to take a dirty coyote. They're dirty and they smell horrible. Like when I skin coyotes and wolves, I wear a respirator.
Okay.
They're rotten animals, but
I ate one.
not for me.
wait. Let's put a pin in that one.
You ate one.
Yeah. Well, I've always had that rule. I've been a survival instructor for many years, and the rule was you kill it, you eat it. So my daughter shot one. We skinned it. I said, well, we're going to eat this thing. And I looked it up, and apparently, from everything I read, they were actually pretty tasty. So I stir-fried it, salt and pepper, and it tasted like pork. And I was surprised how good it tasted.
Interesting.
Yeah, I've eaten a lot of weird stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone's quiet, and that's the end of the show.
Yeah, that's a bit out there. Jeff, I want to talk to you about the thing that you just got in your downstairs bathroom. I know it's not like exactly taxidermy, but
Oh, the copper light.
yeah.
So I love dinosaurs. I love lots of cool stuff. And for my 40th birthday, we went to Drumheller. I always wanted above my toilet a copper light. So I bought a 30 million year old poop.
Dinosaur
Sort of
poop.
Dinosaur
Dinosaur
poo.
Cool.
Yeah.
Was it maybe $60?
Yeah.
$60 for a
Yeah,
poo
$60, yeah.
Nice. Not
It's
bad.
not- looks like poop.
for
Yeah.
30
I
million.
walked around the
year
shop.
old?
They had a few different ones. I walked around asking everyone which one looks more like poop. They picked
Yeah.
that one. There you go.
You don't know what species it's from. It's just a guess.
It's just.
It
a
might
poop,
just be
yeah.
a rock too, but
Well, I showed my dad. I'm like, it's poop, and he said, flush it down the toilet. You'll find it's not poop. All right.
yeah. I had the pet one too because I was wondering about that. Do you have someone that you like follow, Alexis? Like, do you like someone that inspires you, a taxidermist out there that you're like following their work and like that's really cool. I want to try that. Or
So many people.
yeah,
There is so many amazing taxidermists out there, and I really try to work up to their work, and it'll just drive me insane.
yeah,
Because I've been doing it 8 years, but these guys have been doing it 30 years. They've wrote the book.
yeah.
They've started from nothing, and they made all this. It's incredible, and I really strive to be. I've made many good taxidermist friends in this industry, and they're just incredible.
I was going to say, like, is it a tight community where you get into a tricky situation, you can pick up the phone and say, hey, have you ever tried this, or have you seen this before?
There's some people that you can, and then there's
Yeah.
some people that you just don't call.
Okay.
Like, there's some guys that are, this is my trade, your competition. Do not speak to me kind of
Yeah.
thing. But
Yeah.
there's a lot of really nice people that I've learned stuff from. But yeah, I'd say.
Do you ever have any like PETA issues or anything like that?
No, not so much. I normally do the Alberta Tattoo Convention. I'll sell skulls and
Oh, yeah.
I make fur mittens, so they're fur trim mittens.
Yeah.
People love that stuff. And tattoo artists, if you go to a tattoo shop, there's always skulls.
Yeah.
They love
Yeah,
that
yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
Always. So I always sell out on skulls and stuff. And I had brought a life-size black wolf. This thing was like 6.5 feet tall. It was
Wow.
gorgeous. And it sold. And I had a woman come up and say, "Oh, I have a wolf dog. How dare you kill a wolf?"
Yeah.
I just kind of threw the caribou program at her. Like,
Yeah.
it's conservation. You're uneducated. I can't educate you because you don't want to listen and learn. It's not a wolf dog. It's a wild animal. You know, if people get
Yeah.
mixed up, it's just a thing of uneducation.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, they're uneducated on conservation, and if they don't live here, right? They
Well,
don't live it.
There's a stigma sort of bouncing off the PETA question. I was wondering about, because I get this as a hunter all the time. Well, are you a trophy hunter or are you a meat hunter? And if I say a trophy hunter, there's a real disdain typically
Yeah.
that I find. And I mean, I am typically a meat hunter, but like most meat hunters, if I can get a really nice buck, I'm pretty stoked too,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And for me, we've talked about this before, but antlers on the wall, we've got some right here.
Monster bucks.
They're the biggest I've ever seen. They're more like photographs. They're memories, right?
Yeah.
It's not about which one's the biggest. There's always a story behind each of them. And I have them at home all over my walls. And every time I look at them, it brings me back to where I was. Oh, yeah, I remember rattling that one in. Or
love
we
it.
almost froze to death pulling that one out. Or, you know, there's a story behind each of those memories, right?
Yeah.
I love that. And a little bit of the taxidermy. When people drop it off, you know, a big animal, or even just an average size whitetail with a really good story or a really good memory, when they pick it up a year later, it's like that spark comes right back. And nothing's better than taking in a kid's first deer. I love that.
Oh, yeah.
I
Yeah.
love it. You know, you get this 12, 13-year-old kid that shot this deer and his dad's bringing it in to mount it. It's just amazing.
Yeah.
And that's so special. I love it.
Yeah.
Even a little fork horn, you know, it's a trophy.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, but well, my first deer was a little fork horn, and then I took the antlers off, and then I had a friend who made mounted them to the thing that we hang our keys at the front of the door. And my girlfriend's
Yeah.
not into hunting at all, but realizes that understands it now.
Yeah.
And you're every time you see it, I remember that I remember that day, the first time And I find when I shoot an animal, it's not I'm not overjoyed. Sometimes it takes me a couple days to get over it. But then when you're pulling that meat out and cooking it and feeding your friends and family, and you realize that this lived such a wonderful life compared to the stuff you have at the grocery store, it's definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
The mounts I have in here, I don't have a taxidermy. I've just done the European mounts. You mentioned beetles too. Is that something you do?
No.
Or is that that's a whole different?
That's a really different part of taxidermy, but I have a really good friend in town that I've made, and he does beetle cleaning for me. You know,
Okay.
when people bring bears in,
Yeah.
they always want the skull back, so he's a really good friend of mine, so we just have a deal going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's good.
Yeah.
I do my own Euro mounts boiling, and I buried skull a year ago and tried that. It came out with this really cool sort of tea-colored bone, and I tried to bleach it or peroxide it, whatever you call it. And then I was like, I kind of like that color, so I kept it. Looked kind of neat. So I got this bear skull with almost this tanned tea color skull, which looks
That's
pretty cool.
cool.
And it, I buried it in the backyard, and actually the coyotes dug it up, so I had to rebury it. They smelt that thing under 2 feet of dirt and 2 feet of snow.
Wow.
And the neighbor down the street, he was like, Scott, my dog's running around with a bear paw in his mouth, and there's only one guy that I know might be connected to it, and it's probably you. And I'm like, well, that can't be, because I buried that stuff in my backyard. And I was like, oh, wait a second. So I went back there, and sure enough, the coyotes had sniffed it out in the middle of winter and dug it up.
Yeah.
Wild.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. This moose here was my dad buried it in an anthill on the farm there for, I want to say a year, maybe 6 months or something. But
Well, that's a good way to do it.
How
pretty good.
because I buried a deer skull, and when it just maybe it wasn't deep enough, but after the winter I pulled out and it was just in pieces.
Oh, it just fell apart.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Huh.
But I think it might have only been 8 or 9 inches deep, and maybe just the frost in
Yeah.
the ground because it freezes. Yeah.
Yeah. What I did find is when you pull it out of the ground, you got to watch it because your teeth can all fall out, and then you're with the bear. That's tricky because you got these tiny little teeth. You're like
Yep.
trying to put them back where they belong and glue them in.
Yeah. Alexis, what's coming up on your store next? I was looking on the website. You got anything that's going to be available for sale that?
I am going to
Working on?
have some fur trim mittens.
Yeah.
And I'm going to stock the flies. I'm going to make a list and stuff for the flies. I actually like hand-tied flies for fly
Okay.
fishing.
Yeah.
Oh, you tie your own?
Oh,
and
yeah.
Sell them?
I actually
cool.
brought them to a market just a couple weeks ago, and I sold out on all my flies. I couldn't believe it. People just love them. I even had people coming back from the market previously to buy more because they're like,
Cool.
I used this one and it worked and it wore out, and it's pretty cool to see actually. So I got to do work to my website. I'm going to have some, most likely some like lynx hides that are tanned, fox hides. A lot of people love fox.
Yeah.
Fox skins, they're beautiful. And, oh yeah.
When we get the cross fox here, is that you seeing a lot of that?
Yeah, I've mounted a couple cross fox, and even so the cross fox is a partially melanistic fox, so it still has the orange, and then you have the black silver fox, which is fully melanistic. I've actually have one of those right now.
Yeah.
I'm very excited. I'm probably going to keep it for
straight white
myself.
then?
Straight black and silver.
Oh, straight black. Okay.
The cross fox have some orange and
Yet they
silver
are a
and
red
black.
fox, just with a different phase.
Wow.
Yeah,
Cool.
the fox, the colors of fox is incredible. There's cherry red, there's, the pale orange, white, and then you get into the deeper colors.
For wolves, what are you mostly seeing? Like I've seen packs here, one pack that had every color, like black, gray, white, brown. Are you seeing sort of a predominant
So
color?
the least color of wolf I see is the brown. I've never seen one of those myself. I've only had one come in. And the most, like black and gray, about equal. And then every once in a while I get the cream white color. And then even rarer, I get the blue. I've done about 3 blues.
Someone's out hunting right now and they've got something they want to bring in. Like, how do you, like, just price wise, like, how does things cost? Is it just like size or?
So for bears, it's size.
Okay.
Because bears vary in size. You have 4-foot bear, very small, or you have.
Yeah.
I've done all the way up to over 7-foot bear. It's huge, absolutely huge. I actually did this one black bear, 7 feet.
Wow.
And I had to use a grizzly bear form and make the modifications because I couldn't get the length of a black bear form commercially.
That's
It was
a big
incredible. It was
black
huge.
bear.
Yeah.
It was a monster. I'm terrified of bears.
Was that a
Terrified.
local bear? Was that from
Yeah,
this area?
Yeah.
Wow.
It was huge. It's just, never want to see him face to face.
So when you're measuring a bear, is that foot to shoulder or nose to tail?
Nose to tail. Yeah. So, but deer, same price. Sheep, same price, except when you get into the white, like the doll sheep. Then they go through a special whitening process at the tannery. And lynx are all the same size. Wolves, they're all the same price, but bears is the big one for price difference.
Yeah.
I'm still comprehending a 7-foot long black bear.
It's huge.
Because I just realized that
It's
I'm not
insane.
nearly 7 feet tall.
Yeah.
So that's a
Terrifying.
big bear.
Yeah.
So once you get 7 feet, 7 feet is your trophy. You get your trophy. 6 is a
Right.
good bear.
Yeah.
6 feet is a good bear. That's a big bear.
Yeah.
But once you get 7, I'm like, oh,
Big pumpkin head.
yeah, might make the buck once you get over 7.
Right. Yeah.
It's just incredible.
So have you ever done a jackalope?
No. Nope, I haven't. I have a rule. I have no jackalopes, no beavers, no skunks.
Okay.
I hate skunks and I hate
Skunks,
beavers.
yeah, that sounds like something that would not be fun to
No.
work with.
No.
I think one of the coolest ones I liked on yours was like the Wolverine. You had a Wolverine on there that was pretty sweet.
Yeah, I do like Wolverines.
Yeah.
I don't get to do a lot of them. You get a lot more Wolverines up north.
Yeah.
And the guys every so often get a couple here.
Yeah.
Can you get a mold for that, or do you have
Yeah,
to
yeah.
create it yourself?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wolverines are pretty common.
Yeah.
I think the next monster deer I get, I'm gonna get taxidermy.
Oh, cool.
My dad's got a bunch. Like he's at the point right now where he's like, what am I gonna do with all these when he passes away? He's got moose and bighorn sheep and
We got
mountain
antelope
goats
too,
and
right?
Antelope and
Oh well.
yeah, he's got some real big stuff. And it's like that one moose he's got, like you need a 20-foot ceiling to put it in there. So it's
Yeah.
like There's some of these where like people must be like dedicating rooms just to taxidermy stuff. Yeah.
There definitely is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Trophy rooms.
What's on your list to get taxidermy, Scott? You gonna get something?
Oh man.
made up?
Well, like I said, I'm happy with just the Euro mounts and the skulls right now. The only thing that I've done up pretty was that one big buck I shot, non-typical, grossed 188 points. This big guy, 23 point non-typical. I was like, absolutely unbelievable, and I thought, I'm never going to shoot anything this big again. Worst tasting deer of my life.
Yeah, that happens. Yeah,
it was tough as a rubber tire and really musky. So yeah, it's not a good eater. So if you're looking for fill in the freezer, that's where your spike buck is hands down a better meal. Right? Yeah.
I had a bit of a freezer fossil with my first deer, and I found a roast that was just years old.
Fossil,
I like that. I've never heard that before.
I can't take credit. I don't know where I heard it, but I didn't. And I was like cutting it up because I was going to grind it. But then when I cut it, I was like, oh wow, like this is like cut like butter.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, I'm not going to grind this. I'm just going to cook it up with like a little butter and garlic, and it was just as tender as can be. It was probably 5-6 years old.
It is amazing that deer doesn't taint the taste over time. Like fish is horrible if you leave it too long. Pork isn't good because of the fat. Bear, we've talked about this. You got sort of a 3-month shelf life in the freezer before that. And bear tastes fantastic. It's almost as good as coyote. No, I'm kidding. But it's the fat in there that you got to eat it within 3 months. But like you said, a deer steak in the bottom of the freezer is good. Like it might be a little freezer burnt, cut off the edge, but
no, it wasn't a steak. It was like a rump roast,
a big roast. Yeah.
So you cut off all the edges, grind that up, and you have, like you said, there's probably no fat in there, hardly at all.
Right.
Yeah, it's still tender as can be. I even sliced a bit of it raw and ate it.
Yeah,
right
there
from
you
the middle.
go.
Wow.
Good. Yeah.
You're mountain man.
Char.
Yeah. Well, steak is sterile on the inside. That's what I've heard. Everyone's looking at me crazy. No.
Well, yeah. So, I mean, whitetail's pretty safe for parasites. I've eaten, I've done 2 parasite cleanses actually from all the survival trips I've done. But, whitetail's pretty safe. Mule deer isn't. They can have moose measles, which is a little cysts from tapeworms. So I've shot a few mule deers, and you're cutting the meat, and you see these little pearls in them. But strangely enough, whitetail don't get that. But yeah, I wouldn't be eating raw muley or raw moose because of that. Yeah. In general, folks, cook your meat.
Yeah.
There's a reason we invented fire thousands of years ago.
Well, I mean, I think this is a good episode. You guys got anything else you want to chat about before we wind her down?
I just wonder, what's the strangest thing you've ever taxidermied?
Like I said, I did that cat skull once. It was a super weird story. I can tell if you'd like.
Yeah, let's hear it.
So I got the text from someone, and they brought their cat to the vet to get put down. And then I get a call the next day that if I could go get the skull. So I go to the vet's house with my little scalpel and a Tupperware container, and got this cat half frozen on the table, and here I am. Take the skull. It was super weird. And then skinning a cat skull was just a little weirder than normal.
Yeah.
And protein's protein, skin is skin, but it's just still a little weird. And then I took a paw to take a print. It was actually really cute, like a little paw print.
Yeah.
It was keepsake. It was actually really, really special. I probably wouldn't do it again for myself.
Yeah. Your own
But
sanity.
other than that, weird. Everything's been just really cool.
Yeah. Most of the stuff people dropping off, like you mentioned, there's some like in pretty bad shape, but like if someone shoots a whitetail, like are they just dropping the head off for you? Or?
Yeah, the head and the cape.
Yeah.
With bears, because for me to skin it, is a lot easier than someone skinning it with no experience and, making bad cuts and holes and cutting things off.
Yeah.
I've had people bring in full bears to my shop, drop it off, and I skin it for them.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Is that just a added hour charge, or how do you?
No, I just do it out of kindness
I'll
for
keep,
myself.
I'll keep that in mind.
Because, with a bear rug, you go down the bottom of the...
It's tricky on the paws.
And sometimes people go, ooh, and up the top of the paw, and then I'm sewing that, splitting it here. It's easier in the end for me. Yeah.
Crazy.
I've even had people ask me to do pet fish.
Pet fish.
Wow. I've had Oscars, great big tiger Oscars that lived 20 years.
Yeah.
I've never done a pet fish, but I've had it. People have asked.
Interesting stuff.
Yeah.
You ever think about getting a fish done? I mean, you're out there catching some monsters.
I just eat them all. So
It's hard not to.
yeah, it's hard not to. I don't know. Maybe if I caught that 7-pound rainbow, I'd be tempted. I mean, that's pretty stellar out here.
That's pretty proud.
That's a giant rainbow. Yeah, I'm pretty pumped if I get a 3-4 pounder. So I can't imagine what a 7-pounder would feel like.
Wow.
It was like pure adrenaline.
It's
it was
practically
amazing.
It's like, is this a salmon? Like,
Pretty well, right?
Big steelhead. Yep.
Yeah, it was awesome.
If people want to get in touch with you, Alexis, Instagram, website, the best way to do her?
Website, there's a contact form on my website.
ACLtaxidermy.ca.
Yeah, and then I normally get back to you fast.
Yeah. You got people okay, I got a deer, I just shot hunting season, drop it off as I expected in a year sort of thing. Is that
Yep.
kind of the...
I will be totally honest. I've had 2 kids in the last 3 years, so I have
Yeah.
been, catching up some jobs, but now I'm not having any more kids. I have my family's full, and I'm back to work. I love working.
Yeah.
I'm probably gonna go home and spend a couple hours in the shop. It's just what I do.
Cool. Is the shop do you have a big warehouse then, or what's?
I have a great big detached shop at my house.
Okay. Yeah.
It's, I'm pretty fortunate. When we went looking for so when I first got into this, you have to have a detached shop to work in to be permitted, so Fish and Wildlife don't have to go through a private residence to come inspect stuff. And I built this insulated shed that I worked out of.
Yeah.
And then we decided to buy a house, and I wasn't even looking at the house. I was just looking at the shop.
Yeah.
It's got to be big.
Yeah.
And I take up every square foot of it.
Cool. I love it.
Yep.
ACL Taxidermy on Instagram. You can find Alexis there. Follow along with Scott, northern.rockies.bushcraft. Hunting season almost over.
Yeah.
Jeff and I are going to spend the next 2 days, I don't know, debating what to do now. I'm trying to track down an elk the last few weeks here and haven't come across anything, so I might say we go look for the muley, but...
Yeah, well, how much better at hunting we are than your dad. So
yeah, well,
I don't know if
I was out with my dad today, and man, we went to some spots that we've seen elk, at least tracks and stuff before, and just nothing in my zone at the moment. There's some close to my zone, but yeah. So,
have you seen muleys though?
No, not this year either.
There you go.
know. So, but then I can get a doe if we go north too. So. Debating. We'll figure that out tonight, I guess. Scott, you are doing some elk later on in December?
Yeah, doing an elk after Christmas. We've got a pretty full freezer. We got eight deer as a family here.
Wow. Yeah.
I am helping a buddy out this weekend, hoping to help him fill a tag. So
You seen any muleys around?
I have. We'll talk later. I have a road that might be good for you.
Yes. Good.
The coordinates will be in the show notes.
Right. Yeah. And Alexis, your whitetail
Yep.
next couple days.
I hope
Track
so.
one down.
I
Okay.
really hope so.
I saw a couple today. I can send you that direction. Well, thanks for coming on, Alexis. Really appreciate it. That was awesome.
That was great.
Scott, of course. Next week we got a big one coming up next week too. We'll I won't tease it too much, but it's going to be a good one. Jeff, thanks for coming on again. Good seeing you
thanks
as
for having
always. Yeah. Thanks for listening, guys. You want to get a hold of us, wildernesswave@outlook.com, or drop us a review on Spotify or iTunes. Thanks for listening. Talk next week.
Wilderness Wavelength.